good physical health. And as you get older, that becomes more and more challenging because things just don't work as well as they used to. You don't respond as well to physical stimulus, and you don't heal as well from injuries. And also, your spirituality is important. Is an important part of your virtues, as well as your business and being sound ground there. From the vices, well, gosh, let's see here, cigars and scotch, and those are my two biggest vices right now. I'd love to go watch UFC fights, love movies. Those are kind of the biggest ones. I don't think nothing too crazy on the vices part, but that's enough to keep my life interesting and exciting at this point.
Yeah, sure. Well, you just rattled off a few topics we can talk about. By the way, in my world, beer and wine, I've got two vices to deal with there, which I enjoy both very much, probably more than I should based on my workout routine and my trainer. I do some consulting in my business, and I spent the last 4 months consulting for a company named Harvest Pacific. They're up in Salinas. They own a cannabis brand called California Canna. You can look them up. But, it's amazing in the state of California now that cannabis is legal, how we've added a new legal vice to people's choices, if you will. So, I've been around plenty of vices, and that's probably a whole different show. But anyways, it's been interesting to see as you get older where some of those vices go and how we can tone those down too. So I can also appreciate a nice glass of scotch.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've had my share of wine too. So that's not just scotch. Wine, a little bit of beer, wine, scotch, and vodka. I had a horrible experience with Mr. Bourbon as a senior in college, and to this day I have not recovered.
Well, would you say you're officially retired, and what you're doing now, having these discussions, are is this a hobby for you, or is this more than a hobby? I mean, talk about this project that you're on now.
Yeah, well, basically, my wife has said she's never seen me work so hard. If you saw my office here, I've got those those big Post-it notes. So they're all over my wall here with stuff that I'm doing and promoting. So no, my goal is, I expect to live beyond 100. And I'm even at 67, I'm way too young for a hobby. And golf is not something I'm particularly interested in at this point in my life. So no, this is become kind of it's a mission, it's a calling, it's something I love to do. I'm working to turn this into a business. I have not been successful in that, but that's my goal for in the next several months to turn this into a business. And we create stuff sometimes because of needs that we have for ourselves. I am my biggest customer of my stuff, and so like when I create it out of my experiences and out of my interests, and I'll brag about this. It may sound self-aggrandizing, but I make sure that what I'm doing is correct and right, and I want to make sure that I'm talking to people about the right things and being very accurate and representing things very properly when I do so.
Yeah,
just a matter of...
Can you be crystal clear for the audience what you're doing currently and what this project is that we're referring to?
Okay. So my project is called MyJunkDoesNotWork.com.
Yeah.
I think that pretty well tells you what it's all about.
And that's why you got the call back from me.
So myjunkdoesnotwork.com is a digital information product, and what it is about is it's interviews with expert doctors on cutting edge medical therapies to treat erectile dysfunction. I'm not talking about anything cheesy. I'm not, it's nothing that you can buy for $49.99 or whatever, get out from China or something like that. So we're talking about high grade, cutting edge medical therapies. And what I've done is that because of a personal need, I had damaged prostate when I had a biopsy several years ago. And my knowledge of regenerative medicine from my periodontal side is that I have gone out and interviewed expert doctors in this area. And I go into great length in these interviews. These interviews are more time than you would get in terms of face time with them in an office with a consultation. And so what I've produced these interviews and put them in a package. And typically something like this these doctors are all cash pay. They don't take insurance. And they're in a consult, they will run like $250 or $300 just to go in and talk to them and find out what your options are. But what you're able to do is when you go to my site, you can get these interviews and you learn about this without embarrassment in the comfort of your own home. And when you watch the interviews, then you have the ability to ask the questions that are important to you and figure out which therapy is best for you. And so the statistics on this, Jim, are incredible. As I got into this and started finding out more and more about this, the statistics are that 40% of men in their 40s have some form of erectile dysfunction, 50% of men in their 50s, and 60% of men in their 60s. And it's much more prevalent. And it not only affects the man in the relationship, but affects their significant other in very significant ways. So this is a problem that is pervasive, and no one wants to sit around and talk about it. No one wants to sit around. Guys do not sit around and talk about, hey, my dick's not working. How about yours?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. And so I've created this so somebody can get all this information without having to go through embarrassment of going to an office and have to work and this and that. And men are very, very reluctant even to get information about this. As I've gotten into this space, kind of gotten on some Facebook groups and things like that deal with this. I'm surprised at how resistant people are even to talk to their doctor about it. And a lot of times when I say their doctor, a lot of times your primary care physician doesn't know what to do once the ED pills stop working or become less effective.
Right.
They kind of like go, okay, the first say, well, okay, now go ahead and take 5 milligrams, take 10 milligrams, and then 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams. And then there comes a point where it says like, well, I can't give you any more. And you're kind of like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah. Whoops.
Or do I just suck it up and live with it, or what else? So there are options, and these things were not available until just a few years, just recently. Mm-hmm. And so so that's my mission, because I think that is an important part of being a man, is to basically have confidence in the bedroom. Yeah,
sure.
And that leads to confidence in other areas in your life, because it spills over into everything. Because if you are frustrated and depressed in that area, what's going to show up in your other areas? It's going to show up in your relationship. It's going to show up in your business. It's going to show up in your body, because you're not going to want to take care of yourself. You're not going to be interested in what's the point. So there's a cascading effect that it will affect all areas of your life.
Yeah, sure. Now, does your website address other things that don't work, or just the most important one?
Well, that's number one, and we're in a site of development, and I do talk about other things on my site. I just did as I mentioned, as we talked about previously, the old guy tends to go places that a lot of people are kind of skittish about going. And so I just interviewed last week. It's not posted yet. But I just interviewed a gynecologist to talk about vaginal atrophy and vaginal rejuvenation, which is, a lot of guys don't know that urinary incontinence is a huge problem for women, especially those that have vaginal growths. And I mean, some of them are so extreme that if they sneeze or laugh, they literally pee in their pants.
Yeah,
you can't imagine how important that would be. I can't even imagine that would just and that would make you. In many ways, that would make you socially reclusive.
Sure.
So that I talk about that. I talk about healing, regenerative medicine to heal muscles, relationships. I did an interview with a lady who was her name is Maureen McGrath. It's called The No Sex Marriage, Masturbation and Infidelity. She's got over 16 million hits on her TED Talk.
Wow.
Yeah, that was thing. And then I also did we have an interview on my site with name is Dom DiGustino, and he's probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the world on ketosis and ketogenic diets. He's actually created he's actually the creator of a commercial formulation for a company called Ketogenics. And he's actually been on the Tim Ferriss podcast, I don't know how many times. I mean, at least 4 or 5 times, maybe more. I've lost track at this point. So he's a very, very knowledgeable guy in this area. And I had a chance to really get into the interviews. The interesting thing about when you interview, and also probably one of the biggest things for older guys is I had an interview with a gentleman by the name of Jay Campbell, who's been a tremendous resource to me. And we talk about testosterone, which is low testosterone is a huge issue in older men. And the challenge is that generational levels of testosterone in men are going down significantly. So much that the laboratories that run these lab tests will downgrade the high and the low values. And the most recent one was by about 25%.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the normal range is shifting, and it's shifting downwards. So it's a huge issue. Along with there's a WHO study from 1973-2011, WHO study actually, that talks about sperm counts in men, and that they have dropped by 50% in that time frame in the industrialized world. And there's a study out of Hebrew University in Israel that says that if this trend continues, that most men in the industrialized world will be infertile by 2050, 2060.
Wow. Well, I don't anticipate being around then. I've got 2 girls, so we're good on my end. But, hey, a whole bunch of you better wake up out there.
Well, maybe your next business should be investing in creating sperm banks.
Yeah, maybe.
That's going to be liquid gold.
Maybe. Hey, you said something earlier that your wife told you, she's never seen you work so hard. And, we talk about passion on this show an awful lot too. Why is it that you feel that this is something worth putting all the time and effort that you're putting into it at this point in your life?
I enjoy it. It provides me with an opportunity to give and I love helping people. Mm-hmm. I really do, and in a significant way. There's a certain amount of significance that you get from it, which is that's an important part. And so I just see this as something that I can do for a long time and provide value and have fun at it, because I have fun at it. The interviews with the doctors are pretty funny too. Mm-hmm. We're not, and I have a pretty good relationship with all my doctors, and so we have pretty funny interviews that we have when we talk about this stuff, and we talk about just anything. So that's what I just really enjoy it, and I'm committed to making this work. I'm trying to figuring out all this internet stuff, and trying to figure out how to make it all work, how to put it all together.
Yeah, sure. Well, I love what you're doing.